the way that you do. So I guess you'll never
Hear me on the radio.
I'd give up this crazy
The dream of mine to hold you once more. Won't you leave me in Montana? Mountain sea. I could go on about this song. I won't. But I won't. Okay. Meet Me in Montana by Dan Seals. If you're looking for a song that you like, you want to sing to yourself in the shower or when you're working on your job, that is a great song, man. So anyway, I'm back to talk about journalism because I'm a journalist. I graduated with a degree in journalism and creative writing from the University of Kansas, the William Allen White School of Journalism, he was a populist journalist that encouraged letters to the editor and encouraged feedback from the community. That's how he became an overwhelming favorite, a very legendary journalist, William Allen White from Kansas, Emporia, Kansas. A lot of famous Kansans, as it turns out, for what it's worth. You know, Eisenhower, Amelia Earhart, Bob Dole. A lot of broadcasters are from Kansas too. But journalism, we got to talk about journalism because journalism is the number one problem we have. Okay. The number one problem in America is that the journalists and the press has been taken over by government agents. So when our current president calls the mainstream media the enemy of the people, he's correct. He's absolutely right. Like he likes to say, I'm right a lot. Why is that? What does that mean? Why do I say that as a journalist? So journalists, the freedom of the press is different from freedom of speech, for what it's worth. Freedom of speech is your rights. So when people take away freedom of speech, they're taking away rights from you. Just so you know, they're taking your rights away when they take away freedom of speech. Freedom of the press is obviously has adapted over time, or has changed over time, the definition of it, because now it means the freedom to post online. You know, it used to be literally the freedom of the press, like, you know, like I'm making newspapers, right? That freedom of the press was literally that, the freedom to press the truth. But now it's come down to the freedom to say things online because we're each our own newspaper in a way, right? So this controversy over the ability to say things on your own platform on social media is really the freedom of the press, because in my case, I have like 3,000 friends, whatever. I certainly don't have 3,000 fans. Anyway, I used to be a nightclub promoter and I would promote nights. So I gathered up all these friends, you know, I friended everybody, you know, I don't care who you are, man. If you like music, like, come on, so forth. And now I have just this vast list of maniacs that that come after me when I post something controversial. But anyway, the press is designed to keep the government in check. That's what the freedom of the press is. So in our founding principles documents, we have the first thing that is said is keep the government in check, which obviously no other country in the world has that. I mean, that is, when your founding document is number one, keep the government in check. That's totally radical, really, and still stands alone, singularly incredible. So if you know about Project Mockingbird, I'm sure I don't know, maybe people don't know. I don't know. But Project Mockingbird has been a very significant part of my, worldview for, I don't know, 20 years or whatever, because Project Mockingbird supplanted and replaced journalists with agents of the deep state 20 years ago, and I was the CIA director, William Casey, that said, once everything the American public believes is a lie, we will have accomplished our goals, or something like that, and then the quote from David Webb, I think it's David Webb, journalism is telling people what they don't want to hear. That's still very true. I mean, nobody talks about child trafficking, right? Nobody talks about human trafficking, child RAPE, right? Nobody talks about that, but it's very prevalent in our society. It's very much a problem. The trafficking of children, little children, very big problem. Nobody talks about it. So it takes a journalist to talk about that stuff. So anyway, it's been co-opted and it's gone now. So there's a phrase that I post constantly that I don't think anybody reads, or maybe they don't, maybe they do. And it comes from my favorite broadcaster, David Knight, once again, over at InfoWars. Maybe I'll tag him online. And that is, there's no truth in Pravda and there's no news in Investia. There's no truth in Pravda. There's no news in Investia. This was a phrase that was said at the end of the Soviet Union. So Pravda in Russian, Pravda means truth, and Investia means news. So they came to realize that their media had been completely co-opted and owned by the government, the state, the communist state. So there's no truth in Pravda and there's no news in Investia is really our version of fake news, right? The way at Trump rallies, CNN sucks and like fake news, that's all a representation of there's no truth in Pravda and there's no news in Investia here comes the good news. Just so you know, this is a very positive, optimistic, broadcast today, because we got great news around the corner. News that you could profit from, actually. This should be like an investment. This should be behind a paywall, because this you can profit massively from this. What happened at the downfall of the Soviet Union was, once people realized the press had been lying to them, they raced to independent press. All of a sudden, independent press became a kind of fountainhead, or gushed with truth, right, and reality and honesty. And it was just like that. The downfall of the Soviet Union happened very fast once people realized that they'd been lied to. That's happening now, for sure. 1,000%. 1,000% that's happening right now. This is the info war, so to speak. You might have heard that before. But yeah, so the fourth turning, I've talked about this book before, and it's just rip full of knowledge. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't think I read the whole thing, honestly, but does anyone read the whole book? I don't know. Probably not. But anyway, By the way, I guess I should say like and subscribe. And if you, you know, hit that notification bell, and all that stuff. I've never had to say that before, but every single YouTuber I know says that, which is kind of interesting. But in the fourth turning, it talks about a war. The last turning happened in World War II. So the last hero generation was the GIs. The GIs went and fought the Nazis, the National Socialists, and defeated them. And the fascists, and defeated them. Japan was kind of different. I love the Japanese, by the way. Did you like my shirt? You get it? Some people get it. Some people don't. My most intelligent friend did not get the joke when I showed him the shirt. Anyway, the last war and crisis happened between the Great Depression and World War II, and it created a generation of heroes. That's fine. The GI generation's heroes, obviously, clearly, right? I think that what's happening now is a turning obviously, right? Obviously, the 2020 is a turning. Hindsight is 2020. But what's happening now is happening much faster than turnings have happened before. I think in the past you had turnings that would take a few years, maybe even 10 years, whatever. But in the info war, when the global information network is 24/7, a turning happens pretty quickly, right? And I think we're in the turning now, and the millennials are the heroes. This is what I was telling you about, the information here, the optimistic information that you can profit from. The millennials are the heroes, right? According to this book, well-researched book, the millennial class are the hero class, right? And you think about that, and you're like, nah, you're like, nah. No. The millennials aren't heroes. People shit on them. Excuse me. People, I don't want to get demonetized. People razz on the heroes, the millennials a lot, but they're the hero class, right? So you're thinking like, what the heck? What does that mean? That doesn't make any sense. Well, think of the good millennials that you know. I used to, I used to know one, really a great one. Millennials like Ben Shapiro. Okay, I know people don't like Ben Shapiro. They put pictures of him with a Nazi Hitler mustache, even though he's an Orthodox Jew. I mean, miss me with that. Like, seriously, like if you're doing that, like I can't even help you out, man. Ben Shapiro, louder with Crowder, right? And on the left, listen to me, people. Gray zone, Jimmy Dore, to some extent, Glenn Greenwald, who I think is a millennial, probably right on the cusp, whatever, right? He's an independent truth teller. I don't care what side you're on. If you're an independent truth teller, I'm on your side. And in fact, I've been giving money. So as we've all been saving money, I think, through this, right? I mean, we're all saving a ton of money, aren't we? Because we're not spending any money on shit. We're not going anywhere. So people are saving tons and tons of money, all right? Seems like it's according to a plan. Anyway, I've been spending money and buying things. Like this shirt, for example, comes from a YouTuber, right? And I've been buying all sorts of stuff from broadcasters, journalists, YouTubers, bit shooters, Brighteon, and there's this whole plethora of platforms that's coming out now that supports video makers. There's many more video platforms now. You don't have to go to YouTube anymore. You can go to DLive, you can go to BitChute, you can go to 3Speak. I don't know. There's like a million of them, right? That's a good thing because it's the freedom of the press. And they're going to lose the narrative. The Project Mockingbird people I brought up, they're starting to lose the narrative, and they're totally freaking out. Clearly, they're totally freaking out. It's why the press is completely lies upon lies, because they're losing control of the narrative, and it's terrifying to them. Not because they care about the truth for what it's worth. Like, this isn't about when CNN attacks InfoWars, when CNN attacks OAN, when CNN attacks Federalist, blah blah blah. It's mostly the right wing media that's causing the problem, because of course it is, and that's fine, but it'll eventually balance out. I have no doubt about that, but it's just unfortunately going to take this crisis that we're going through. So the millennials are helping us out. Thank God for that. But when CNN attacks the Federalist and attacks, when the Atlantic attacks InfoWars, when every media organization in the world practically attacks QAnon, it's because they're attacking competition. They want to have the clicks. They want to have the views. They want to have the audience. So when CNN and Oliver Darcy, who's literally obviously one of the worst people that exists. I mean, that guy is a terrible, terrible person. When they attack OAN, which they just recently did, it's because they're competition. That's the only reason, really. Yes, there is a fundamental right to the freedom of the press that is being assaulted, but Oliver Darcy just wants to keep his job. I mean, he's just a panicked, sad, lonely individual who's just trying to maintain his orders from HelloFresh or Amazon, his Amazon Prime account. He's ordered so many politically correct movies, he can't keep his head on a swivel anymore. Anyway, I don't want to go off about Oliver Darcy, but dude is a terrible person. So journalism is in peril. We've established that. We've established that it's up to you. Again, as always, it's up to you to do something about this. You have to do something about this. You just have to speak your mind and speak the truth. But you also have to support independent thought and independent voices and independent speech and independent press. And that's the way it used to be. It used to be you'd go to the newsstand there, right? And you'd be like, oh, what do I want to do? I want the independent socialist today, the communist, the capitalist, and it literally said on the cover of the newspaper what their bias was. The Boston Post, for example, back in the day, as far as I understand it, was the conservative newspaper. It was like the Boston Post. You knew what you were getting. You'd pick it up, and it would be like anti-abortion, anti-slavery, pro-speech, whatever. I don't know, but you knew what you'd pick up and get. And maybe you'd pick up a couple. Maybe you'd get the communist and the socialist and the capitalist. Let's see what all of them are saying at different times. Of course. But you'd pay for it because it gave you perspective, that gave you a leg up, gave you information that you could use to make money. That's why you paid for it. Same thing today. We've gotten used to this idea that information is free. It shouldn't be free. How about that? I just came up with that. But maybe it shouldn't be free. Maybe you should pay for information. Because that's what I'm doing. I have a subscription to the Daily Wire. I've given money to Jimmy Dore. I've given money. These are left progressive people. I bought Dave Rubin's book. I'm giving money to that side now that it's relevant finally. But the non-communist left. How about that? How about that? Let's make a pledge to support the non-Marxist, non-communist left. I'm all about that. I am all about supporting the non-Marxist left. But I've also, I just bought a Alexa Pure air filtration system from InfoWars the other day. This might get me banned. That word I just said might. Oh crap! Oh no, I might get a strike. Because they're still out there, and Robert Barnes, their Nightman, there from 6 to 8 is just like brutal. I mean, that guy is so full of truth. I'm surprised he's not sitting on the toilet all the time. I mean, but then their David Knight, their morning guy, no relation. But I've seen things on OAN and I've bought the product. I'm this close to buying a MyPillow. I'm this close. Soon enough, one of these days you're gonna see me, and I'm gonna be hugging a pillow. I swear to God. Maybe next time. I don't know. Maybe I should just do it. Anyway, I got to get to work. I got to work for the next 6 days because my coworker is out of town. So it's not going to be anything easy. But come on by. If you're watching this, I work at a store that's been open this whole time. The inventory musical is going well. Inventory is going well. Working on that, fleshing that out. I don't know if I've said this, but the end of the musical inventory is this giant number with like all the wipes people and the bubble people and the glove, the mask people and the chains people and all this stuff. And then it's like da-da-da, inventory. And then somebody comes in, stage right, and they look up and they say, "How long have you guys been open?" Anyway, life's full of living. Should I read from this book again? Yes, I shall. I shall read from The Discovery of Freedom because I have so many pages marked out of this. It's crazy. So the chapter 3, the feudal system. So it talks about how the feudal system was a good thing, which, hidden knowledge is so fascinating. It's like, oh, it was? And it's like, oh, it was, actually. It kind of was. It's a good point she makes about the feudal system. It actually ordered the structure of... Anyway, whatever. I'll let you read it. During the Dark Ages, Europeans were creating the feudal system. This system is unique in the old world because the men who created it attempted to hold a double view of reality. They tried to combine the ancient pagan superstition that authority controls a static universe with a knowledge that men are free. Strange thing happened when an emperor accepted the Christian faith. Christ proclaimed individual liberty and declared that this truth would destroy kingdoms. As an emperor, to strengthen his autocracy, urged and compelled his subjects to be Christians. This astounding action was possible only because Europeans had modified their idea of Christianity. The God of Abraham, Moses, Christ, and Muhammad was one God. The first Christians, as well as the Jews and the Muslims, saw the universe as precisely a universe, a unit, one thing, indivisible. They saw a human being as a unit, indivisible. By your fruits, your acts, ye shall be judged, because your acts are you. Faith without works is dead. A man acts in accordance with his belief. A faith that does not shape his acts does not exist in him. Energy operates under control and cannot be separated from its control. How then can there be separation between a man's self and his acts, between his soul and his living body? With that said, I got to go to work. But come on by. Why not?